excited to have you on. So let me know that you are. It is time to get started. We are going to rock the last 60 days of 2018. Are you ready to make that happen? I sure hope that you are. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And again, I'm Pamela Waldrop, author of 90-Day Planner and Breakthrough Goal Setting Workbook. And we are going to crush it today. So I'd like to ask, are you ready for a short and sweet and concise instruction on how to make 2018 end the very best ever? That's what I'm committed to in the next half hour. It's going to be memorable, something memorable for you. It's going to be a goal that's important to you, something that's important to you. And it's going to be something that you can check off your list and look back and say, in the last 64 days of 2018, I did that. That's what it's going to be. So if you think this is going to be beneficial, share your screen and invite your friends to see and hear maybe something that would be practical and relatable from a real person as we walk into this last 60 days of the year. Okie doke. Well, since I was on live with you last time, I hosted my first ever local Breakthrough Academy. I'm still on a high. 22 of the most incredible men and women who were just so primed and ready to learn and grow came to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and it was a phenomenal experience. And I can't even begin to detail how it rolled out. But we walked through about 36 hours of this kind of stuff together and made it work in a practical, really personal way. And their takeaways are on pamelashaw.pink. Click on the events tab and you'll see their videos and their takeaways and see who was here the first time. I've scheduled the next one. It's going to be February 16th and 17th, 2019. And the first 28 people to register are the people who get to come. That's the only way I know how to do it. It's a limit to 28. 22 is really a perfect number, but I'm going to risk having 28. And so that's up there. So take a look and see what's happened. So I feel like I can check something big off my list. That's been on my heart for a long time to do. So Breakthrough Academy 1.0, second session is coming up. What else? How was your weekend? How was your weekend? I had a really good weekend. Yesterday, I drove to Lexington, Kentucky, about 2.5, 3 hours one way, and same distance back. But I was invited to go speak to my college sorority, and it was such a thrill, y'all. I can't tell you, some of the most beautiful, brilliant, smart, hardworking, involved, invested, serving, volunteering, learning, growing, maturing women. Just a room full. And so I got the opportunity to speak with them about dreaming big and living intentionally and some of the things that are my core things. But, you know, when you're on campus, your college campus, a lot of stories and things come back to you that you hadn't thought about in a long time. And of course, I was thinking and prepared for what I was going to share with them on the way long before I got there. But one of the things that came to my mind was how the University of Kentucky and my years there really shaped who I am as an adult. And a lot of those things happened as a result of exerting courage. This is going to tie in because I'm going to call on you and draw on you to bring your courage factor for these last 64 days of 2018. But I had two goals when I went to the University of Kentucky. One was not to go to, well, three goals. One was not to go to Western, which is where my parents and my sister had gone. And my sister, who's super smart, I came behind her. And the word about me was, you know, I was really good with people. And even though I was smart, my sister is super smart. So in school, that became a challenge. So I wanted to kind of make my own pathway. So I wanted to go to the University of Kentucky to get out of that. But the only two things I really wanted to do at UK were, one, become a theta, like my big sister, my beautiful big sister, who was pulling for me and did pull for me to make that happen. And also I wanted to become a University of Kentucky cheerleader. That was my other, deep desire. Well, my sophomore year, I was accepted and became an active theta for 4 years. And it formed so many things about who I am today, that experience of sisterhood and leadership. But the second piece I could try out for my sophomore year. My sophomore year I could try out, and at that time, the entire university could come and watch you try out, and they did. And my dad drove 3 hours one way on a school night, and he was an educator, to watch me try out, and I didn't make it. And I was so devastated. I put myself out there so far, and I did not make it. And he took me out to eat afterwards and said all the right things like a dad and wrote me a beautiful letter afterwards that I still have and cherish, especially since he has passed. But that Failure was the first open door I ever experienced in my life, with a really closed door and an open door. The dance teacher called me the next day and asked if I would like to try out for the dance team. And I'm like, no. Enough rejection for me. And she's like, no, I don't think you understand. I'm the dance teacher and I'm inviting you to come and try out. I did try out. I did make the dance team and ultimately was the president of the dance team. And we traveled, and I mean, it was dance like contemporary dance and ballet. And that's my affection for Dancing with the Stars, those of you who know me. And so you think you can dance in those shows. But that experience and that leadership formulated other things for me as I moved forward. It prepared me when I went to South Florida, because I was the drill team coach, the cheer coach, the dance team coach, and all of those things dance equipped me for those roles. Not only that, the leadership of the dance team equipped me for those roles. Here's the segue. As the drill team coach and sponsor in South Florida, I met a lot of amazing girls, and that leadership experience prepared me for what I do today with Mary Kay and with other leaders, corporate and Christian world. Here's a beautiful other segue. One of the girls who was my co-captain my very first year, it was her daughter, who's the active theta, who invited me to Lexington. So small world. That post is on my Facebook page if you want to scroll down and look at it. It takes courage. So what are you doing in courage? This last year I can check off the Breakthrough Goal Setting Workbook. I can check off the Breakthrough Academy. Hey, I can check off the 8x11 Design Your Life version. I can check that off. I'm feeling good about what I can check off. And I want to check off a couple more things. There's one more big project that I'm working on before this seminar, before this 2018 year ends, and I want to bring that to you. So I feel great about those things. I want you to feel great about the last 64 days. Some of you have been with me all year long, and so I'm guessing that maybe you're writing down some things on the wall right now that you already feel great about as a result of working with me on this 90-day concept. That you can change anything in 90 days. That you can that you can't change what you won't acknowledge. That time invested in one area is time away from another. Maybe you've been working with me for the process of this entire year. Maybe you're on your fourth 90-day planner of 2018. I hope so, because we're going to make these last 60 the best 60. Hey, if you think it's going to be good, go ahead and share it, because I'm getting ready to start. Okay, courage. Courage, that's really where I'm going to start, because and that was my whole purpose of telling you that story. I was 19 years old then. Courage is important for you to understand, because windows and doors of opportunity open and then they close. So take charge. Take charge of your opportunities. Take charge of exerting your courage. Take charge of saying, yes, it is my time, and I am not going to waste these 64 days. These 64 days I'm going to make count for something, and I'm going to decide what it is tonight, and I'm going to put my plan together before I go to bed, and tomorrow I'm going to make day one count. Day one of 64 starts tomorrow. Take charge. You guys, I've got free content that is really quality, well thought out, long prepared, prayed over content that I've lived and given back to you on PamelaShaw.pink. And yet people still private message me for private training. I giggle. It's like, it's work. It's work to turn off all the noise and invest in yourself. It's work to go through the 90-day planner process and working through the breakthrough goal setting workbook all the way through. It's work. Of course, you'd rather have a personal coach and mentor. It's work to sit down and do it and trade that out for something else. It's work to even do the space between 7 days that I still have to do tonight when I get finished and frame my day. It's work to even frame your day. It's work to frame your day. I understand it is hard work. It takes focus to frame your day and to frame your night. But I'll tell you what, you owe it to yourself to get the most out of your life. And I'll assure you that a traditional planner or date book is not going to do that for you. There's work to be done. It takes bold, forward courage. And so let me ask you a question. Ready? How many times have you bailed on other people so far this past year? Said something that you would do, but you didn't do it. Probably not so much. But let me ask you another question. How many times have you bailed on yourself this last year? Said you'd do something. Give 90 days towards something. Sacrifice something. That you were going to give up something, that you were going to get connected to your addiction-free lifestyle, that you were going to build something, that you were going to start something, that you were going to stop something. How many times did you give up on yourself? I want to suggest that if you had a friend who bailed on you the way you bail on yourself, you wouldn't be friends for very long. This is an important consideration. And the reason it's important, because it's the process of accumulation where results show up. And I see this day after day and week after week and month after month. I see this. 90 days will pass, and after another 90 days, and then after a year, and after another decade, and people don't have the grit to go the distance of a goal, an action, a sacrifice, a price tag, a focus that sustains the one thing for long enough, uninterrupted, to get the victory. Are you ready to go with me for 64 days? That's the whole point. If we can't do 90, and if we can't do a half a year, and if we can't do a whole year, we can do 64. And that's what we're going to do next. So this is why I'm inviting you to the shortest term goal possible. And you know what the good news is? The best goal, the goal that you can count on, is the short-term goal. That's the one you can count on, because it's a sprint. And most people, myself, I don't do long distances. I got a friend, Eliza. She runs like she trains and does races and marathons and half marathons all the time. Love her, one of my most favorite buddies, people in all of the world, and I see her every day at the gym. She's a runner. She's a distance runner. But most of us can run a sprint. I don't want to run long distance. There are a lot of reasons. One, I've postponed foot surgery for 3 times and blah, blah, blah. You don't need to hear all my personal problems. But I can see the sprint. And in the gym, I can sprint as hard as I can if I know it's just a sprint. But to even do a big lap, what they call a big lap at my gym, I'm like, no, I'm going to do a small lap, because I know I can do a small lap. This is one of those goals for you. You know you can do 64 days. So if you feel like this is going to be beneficial, please hit that share button and share it with your friends, because the meat is yet to come. Are you ready? Are you ready for the best 64 days of 2018? Okay, here's the question. You have to get involved at this point. What one accomplishment would make 2018 the best ever? Between now and December 31st. What would make your life the best ever? What would you feel the best about? What check mark? Success is not going to come to you. You've probably already figured this out. It's not going to walk your way. You have to go to it. You have to work for it. You got to fight for the life you want to live. You got to fight for your best life. And you got to decide what it's got to look like first, because if you don't decide what it's got to look like, then you will not know what to do. There are many things that keep us from reaching our potential. The first one is our own free will, our own free choices, obvi. Within those, however, there are a couple of things that trip us up. One, blind spots. What? What's a blind spot? Okay, now, while I'm talking about this, I want you to be thinking, doodling, writing. I'm sure you've got paper. What is going to be your one 64-day goal? What's your 64-day goal that come December 31st, New Year's Eve, the party ball goes up, you're toasting yourself with a beautiful glass of healthy water, and you say, I did it. What's going to be your one thing? Okay? While you're thinking about that, I'm coming back to the 2 things that can hold us back. The first one is blind spots. What's a blind spot? What would you say? What would you say a blind spot is? You know, because we all have flaws. We all have things that other people don't like. But blind spots are flaws that keep recurring at critical times in work and relationships, and to our detriment. They're key. They are a key standing between us and the locked door of success. Blind spots stand between us. They're recurring. They could be a habit. They could be a motive. They could be an expression, a post, an attitude, a limiting belief, a repeated behavior. A blind spot is something that's making a negative impact, but we don't see it. Other people see it. We don't see it. It could be as simple as the tendency to make good but not best decisions time after time after time. And you got a history of good but not best decisions over and over again. In fact, for many people, it might boil down to just that. I make good but not best decisions. I sacrifice, but I don't fully sacrifice. I'm willing to pay the price, but maybe that's not really the price. We're always negotiating in some way. That could be a blind spot. In fact, for the key is that Here's the tricky part. You've got your lane and I've got my lane, and I need to be open to my closest circle to point out my blind spots, and you the same. Okay, here's the distinguishing thing. There are a lot of people who are willing to tell you what's wrong with you. There are a lot of people willing to tell you, well, if you would just do this. And you know what? There are a lot of people that I will tune completely out, because I saw this post this last week. I think it was Brittany O. What you think about me is none of my business, was the essence of the post. In other words, I'm not taking a poll for public approval, but I do have a really tight circle of influence. Who are those people? They're people who are spiritually more advanced than me. They're people who are further along in their business in some way than I am. They're people that have proven themselves and gone to a place where I want to go. So that circle is tight. But here's the thing. We both already have clues. I kind of know what some of my blind spots could be. I'll bet you know what some of yours could be. Trust is the number one quality in a relationship, to have somebody discuss your blind spots with you. Not everybody can do it. Sometimes you can have the right motive, but the wrong habit. So honestly, you have to look at your habits and consider carefully what and who are influencing your beliefs. I have some super strong opinions about news media, Hollywood, and other loud voices clamoring to tell me how to feel and how to define what empathy and love are. But I read my Bible, and I'm a humble student before God as to what's right and what's wrong. And I don't need an interpreter as my moral compass. In Jesus Calling one day this past week, the reading said, many people are so preoccupied with future plans and decisions, they fail to see the choices they need to make today because we're preoccupied. We're like, oh yeah, I got that. Yet days, 90 days, months, years, decades pass, and we're not any closer. So to have your eye on the long term, but not to be in the short term of this minute, and perhaps blind spots being one of those. This is the beauty of short-term goals, of looking for blind spots and breaking them further down. Do you know of a blind spot? And if you know of a blind spot, what are you willing to do about it? If you don't know of a blind spot, who is in your circle that you might say, you know, I have a feeling that maybe there's a blind spot in the way I'm doing things that I don't see. What do you see? Who do you trust that much? And who have you built a relationship with that they can honestly speak that back to you without you either arguing or disagreeing or holding it against them later? See, sometimes people are able to guide you, and they are in the right position to guide you and be in your short circle, but they've learned that it's not worth it because you fight or argue, or you end up doing what you want to do anyway, and you're not somebody who receives and pivots. You're somebody who receives and cops an attitude and then goes back to doing the same old thing. So are you somebody who's willing to move those blind spots? This is important. Here's the second thing. Blind spots have patterns. Patterns are their defaults. Like, for example, when I get mad, I always blank. When I get frustrated, I always blank. When I feel insecure and someone is attacking me, I always blank. When I'm under pressure, I always blank. When the deadline gets near, I'm always blank. When the month is getting ready to close down, I always blank. When I have to get on the scale, I always blank. So what are your defaults? When my husband and I fight, I always blank. When we fight, he always blanks. What are your defaults? Defaults are patterns. And so let me explain what patterns are. When I was a little girl, actually all my life, I wish she would still, but she doesn't still. Of all the amazing things she still does, my mother does not still sew. But growing up, my mother was a home economics teacher when the home economics curriculum was sewing and cooking and housekeeping and financial management and care of babies, and it was all of that. And she sewed for all of us. I mean, she sewed for all of us. And so my older sister loves to sew. I do not love to sew. I'm okay at it, but I never made anything like magnificent, like with lining and, you know, stays and darts. And I mean, I made a shift. I made a few things. Made a pair of shorts. I mean, I made a few things. But I remember buying this gauze fabric once, and I was so excited about this gauzy top I was going to make. And I sewed something wrong about it, and the next step was to take out the stitches. I threw away the fabric. I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. And so my childhood was a lot of going to the fabric store in Bowling Green. We lived in the county in Glasgow, out in the county in Barron County in Park City. And my mom, After school, my mom, my sister, and I would come to Bowling Green to the fabric store. Oh, just the smell of all the fabrics nearly put me under because I'm sensitive to fumes. And so I would look through patterns and pattern books and rows of fabric and feel the fabrics and talk about the fabrics and be like, ah! I mean, I loved a finished outfit. You know, I got my first job so that I could buy a store-bought outfit. And I love the clothes she bought for me. She sewed for me through college. She'd send me little surprises in the mail. When my sorority nominated me for homecoming candidate to represent the Thetas, she made me a suit like that and sent it to UK. I mean, amazing stuff, really. But the pattern is really important. So once you look through the pattern, it tells you how many yards you need, what kind of thread you need, what kind of zipper you need, how long does it tells you exactly what you need. That pattern does. And then when they would get home, they would spread all this fabric out and they would put the pattern on it and they would put the pins in a certain way and they would cut around the edges of the pattern and certain pattern pieces fit together, and then you would follow an instruction, a paper instruction on how to put the garment together. This pattern created a result. That pattern would not create a result other than the picture that was on the front of that pattern. And so our patterns are very much the same way. So I'm going to jump, if you'll let me do this, to the Breakthrough Goal Setting Workbook. And chapter 3, page 50 of the Breakthrough Goal Setting Workbook. This is one of my favorite chapters. It's called Interrupt Your Pattern. And it is, like I said, it's on page 50. And it's important that you understand that you're in a pattern right now and that in order for you to get to the next leg of your journey, you may need to interrupt your pattern. And what do I mean by that? Patterns have a lot to do with self-recognition and the courage to change. Our patterns are our go-to ways of thinking, feeling, and choosing. They're our defaults, our patterns, our thinking, feeling, and choosing. And in order to change your pattern, you have to become very mindful about your thinking, your feeling, and your choosing. To interrupt your pattern, you have to recognize what the pattern is, and then you have to think, feel, and choose a different way. If you're trying to accomplish the one thing, and you're wanting to make a 64-day goal happen, and you recognize there could be some blind spots, and the patterns that you have haven't been supporting it, then I'm encouraging you to ask a mentor about blind spots, and then I'm encouraging you to look at your own patterns. What I say on page 50 of this, the context that I've written for the workbook, we can all get stuck in unintended patterns or habit loops. And we all have patterns that have let us off the hook when our goal efforts become hard or when we become discouraged. We have go-to comforting patterns. Oh, I didn't want it that much anyway. Well, maybe next time. There's always next month. Those kinds of things. To get a different result, to get all stuck, you must first recognize your old pattern and then interrupt it. Okay, hashtag interrupt your pattern. Hashtag interrupt your pattern. Let that be your go-to this week. Write it someplace where you can see it and put it on your 90-day planner so that you can move it every single day. Hashtag interrupt your pattern. If you don't intentionally change, alter, or shift the direction of your life, it will continually migrate in the same direction. And so then the next page of the workbook invites you to write down person, skill, circumstance. List anything, person, skill, or circumstance that you've perceived to be a possible obstacle on your journey towards accomplishing your goals. And I had written some things down here in mine. And then at the bottom it says, is it real or imagined? Go back and put an R or an I next to it. Is it real or imagined? And then for whatever really isn't making an impact on your choice, put a red mark back through that and get rid of it, eliminate it. We challenge ourselves or we go to our predictable defaults. We have to challenge if what we're thinking is real or not. That's on page 51. Then as you go to 52, I'm going to share some of my answers with you. There are questions 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth one is, how will you prevent those interruptions, choices, or emotions from repeating? My own answer as I work through my own goal setting workbook is this. I'm going to acknowledge the emotion. I'm encouraging you to write this down. Somebody take notes. Okay, put it on the wall so that the people who join in later can see. In fact, it'd be a great time to share on your Facebook. Just hit your share button and let your friends see what you're seeing and learn what you're learning. When people learn what you're learning, it's a lot easier for you to execute because you don't have to explain so much. So share. Okay, so how will I prevent those interruptions, choices, or emotions from repeating? Number one, I'm going to acknowledge my emotion. Number two, put it in perspective. Number three, redefine my lane. What's my lane? I have a feeling that I could be out of my lane if I'm letting something really rock my world. Number four, restate my role. What's my role in this? And then number five, restate my goal. And that's how I'm going to prevent interruptions and my default and get out of my pattern. I'm going to look at it differently. I'm going to acknowledge my emotion. I'm going to put it in perspective. I'm going to redefine my lane. I'm going to redefine my role. I'm going to redefine my goal, and I'm going to get back on course just like that, because that's how you interrupt your pattern. On the next page, okay, I'm going to share something personal with you. Last year, 12/17, when I was doing this particular chapter for my own personal growth, number 2 says, what's your old pattern of giving up? What is your old pattern of giving up? I wrote eating, baking, and social media scroll. And then I looked at that again today, and number 4, where it says, how will you replace them? How I've replaced them is with keto, intermittent fasting, and proactive social media. Working on a book, producing a 8x11 version, working on a blog, holding Breakthrough Academy, and authoring something new right now. So in just 1 year, I'm looking at how I interrupted my pattern with some really healthy choices. Okay, on the next page, there's a quote that I want to read to you by Stephen Seibold. When a performer begins to experience physical or emotional pain, the heat of the battle, the brain, whose primary role in self-preservation, asks the question, why must I suffer? The champion will answer the question with the vision they've carefully constructed, and they'll continue to fight. Since the masses lack this mental clarity and have no reason to suffer, they quit as soon as the pain kicks in. Developing a world-class vision is the secret to world-class motivation. We're going to get a 64-day goal, y'all. Next page, how do you define courage? And it walks you through 3 or 4 steps on how to define courage, and then it invites you to define what makes them courageous. And so I wrote down about some of the people that I described as, that I see as courageous. When I think of courageous people, who do I think of? And I wrote those answers down on page 56 of my book. On page 57, it says, what makes them courageous? And this is my answer of what I see and how I define a courageous person. I'd love to know what you define as a courageous person. So feel free to give me your answers as I'm giving you mine. They own their own power. They operate in their strengths. They don't park on loss or grief, and they're not victims. They contribute. They're grateful. They serve others. They keep moving forward. Maybe some of those things you would also see as courageous, but what are some things that you see as courageous in people? So you know where I'm going with this. The next question is, how are you different from them? And I went through myself and I said, you know what? I own my own power. I operate in my strengths. I don't park on loss or grief. I contribute. I am so grateful. Serving others, I'm working on creating bigger places to do that, and I keep moving forward. When you define what you see in other people as courageous, come back and ask yourself, how am I like that? Because when you find that common ground, you realize you're a lot more courageous than you think. On page 59, it says, what you hold back in courage, you block from results. Courage is the answer. So I'm going to challenge you. I need to put this in a different place. I'm going to challenge you to do chapter 3 in the Breakthrough Workbook tonight and find your courage place. So to get either tool, you can go to pamelashaw.pink and click on shop. Tonight is Sunday. It's after 5 p.m. And so anything that's ordered after 5 p.m. will not be processed until tomorrow. And as long as it's ordered before 5 p.m. tomorrow, it will ship. Nicole will ship it out on Tuesday. And so that's how the timing of that works, in case you want to know. Okay. Let's wrap this up with a solution. I'm ready for a solution. Are you? We cannot sleepwalk through the last 64 days and call it okay. At some point, activity has to produce accomplishment. At some point, Activity has to produce accomplishment. You've got to be able to check something tangible off. So if what I'm doing isn't accomplishing what I want, and what I say I want, then I have to consider my blind spots and my patterns. I want a win before 2018 ends. Solution. Here's the solution. What is your goal? Clarify it. Write it. Mean it. It's got to fit the SMART method of goal setting. S-M-A-R-T. I have an entire video on just that. If you're heavy, if you're overweight, you could easily lose 20 to 30 pounds by December 31st. If you need to lose 10 pounds, you could easily lose 4 to 10 pounds by December 31st. If you have a business building goal, a team that you can build, a promotion or a position that you can take, what is that? And how can you nail it in 60 days? If you have a financial goal, you have 64 days to spend less and earn more. If you have an opportunity to earn more, are you willing to work? Are you willing to work out of your comfort zone? Encourage based on your I wish for, and I'm setting the goal to, and I'm willing to. What is your 64-day goal? Based on your gosh, I wish for, or I'm setting the goal to, and I have the courage to, and I have the work ethic to, and I'm willing to. Now, what is your 64-day goal? Okay, it has to be SMART. I already said that once. I'm going to go ahead and give it to you so you don't have to go look for it tonight. S-M-A-R-T, acronym. S, specific. The goal has got to be specific. M, measurable. It has to have measurable quantities between now and then so you know if you're on course or not. A, it has to be actionable and achievable within 64 days, within the time frame. R, relevant. Is it relevant to the desire of your heart and where you are in your life right now? And T, time sensitive. Between now and December 31st. That is all the time we've got. So get it in the whisper. Get it in the whisper. You already know what it is. It's been with you for a while. This is not like an epiphany tonight on like, oh, I just thought of this goal. No, you already know what it is. Get it in the whisper. Don't wait for the roar. Don't wait for the hard time. Don't wait for the difficulty. Get it in the whisper. You already know what it is. Innately, you know what it is. You may be afraid you can't count on yourself. You may be doubting your courage or your ability to win at this particular goal. A former or an active limiting belief is competing for your proclamation of the goal, but I want to break it down. I want to break down the word innate and give you the last steps to make sure this happens. Innate. Innately, you know what it is. Get it in the whisper. Number 1, I stands for invite. Who will you invite into genuine, transparent, and willing accountability? Ask the wrong person and you get validation to keep doing what you really want to do. Accountability does not always mean I agree with you or I see things the way you see things. You've got to have good accountability. Caution, doing the same thing under a new title. Hey, I got accountability, it just didn't work out. It's not smart. So don't play dumb here. Don't pretend like you don't know what to do. Don't pretend like you don't know what good accountability is. This is not time to pretend like you don't know what you actually do know. So I invite. Number 2, I in. Number 2, in. Name. Name the negative or unhealthy pattern you want to break in order to surpass where you are. So I invite, in, name. Name it. What's the pattern? What's the blind spot? Name it. Name the negative or unhealthy pattern you want to break in order to surpass. Number 3, in, name the blind spot. So name the negative or unhealthy pattern. Name the blind spot. Number 4, I-N-N-A, action. Decide the action steps to accomplish your 64-day goal. A, action. Number 5, T, I-N-N-A-T, tell. Tell other people. Now, if you tell the wrong people, that's fine, but be ready for the haters. Be ready for the haters and the naysayers and all the people who are going to try to discourage you, because if you tell the wrong people, they're gonna get involved. That's okay, but I'd say make it public. I'd say be willing to risk the wrong people knowing, because there's more at stake. Hey, when you post it, Tag me. I want to see what your 64-day win is. You're so much more likely to win at it when you put it out there, because people then know not to ask you if you want to volunteer for the Pumpkin Fest on Friday. And then they know not to ask you if you want to cook 55, you know where I'm going. I don't need to go on that. You know, hey, it's 64 days, so it's not going to be solving world peace. It's just 64 days of actionable, achievable, meaningful goal to you. Number 6, E. I-N-N-A-T-E. Expect. Expect a win. Confidence grows when we put ourselves out there, encourage, and push with everything we've got to get the W. Repost today from Dr. Leaf was this: you can't speak defeat and expect success. And so E, expect to win at this goal. Your mind is so powerful. Embrace your God-given power. You do not have to do the chapter in the Breakthrough Workbook on patterns to identify your possible blind spots. P.S. You've probably heard them before from somebody else, from someone trusted before. Or you don't have to do chapter 3 in order to admit that your patterns aren't working. It really isn't a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of good competing for best. Good is acceptable. Best is going to get you where you need to go. If you have time to do the chapter and you have the book, I'm going to invite you to do it tonight. Because just like the subtle difference between hot water and boiling water is just that degree, so is good from best. There are many good decisions that nobody could argue or criticize or call wrong. But that degree from good and best is the difference maker. So if you don't have the workbook, that's also fine, but I highly recommend defining and breaking down this goal that we're talking about, this one goal between now and December 31st. If you followed me at all, you know enough about breaking down goals to break down from 64 days to 30 days, to weekly, to the daily, to the hour, to know what needs to happen. So you do need to invest time in the space between 7 days. And so if you have your planner, this is the big one. It's big. It's bigger than me. Then you are going to, tonight, you are going to work on the space between 7 days. This is critical. This is a critical piece for you to come back in and redesign your week for this next week. Reflect. What did I do well? What am I proud of? What were my wins? Where did I fail? What did I learn? Review. Rewrite your goals. What are these last 60 days of your planner? Where are they going to take you? Now, if you don't have a planner and if you don't have the Breakthrough Workbook, don't wait until they arrive to get started. Get started. You know what to do. Get a spiral a spiral notebook and get started. You know what to do and you know how to break it down. And if you don't, I know you've got someone in your life who can support you in making that happen. So the assignment is this. If you have your Breakthrough Workbook and you can do chapter 3 tonight, do that. The one on patterns. It's going to perhaps let you see something that you haven't been willing to admit or discuss or open or invite a mentor in on. If you don't have it, cool. Define a blind spot or ask your mentor if they can help you define one, and then look at your patterns and ask yourself, what pattern do I need to interrupt? That's the first step. Second step. Go to the middle part as you start your week in your planner. If you don't have your planner, you can order one, but the bottom line is you've got to figure out what went well last week, redesign this week, and put your yellow sticky pad together and get tomorrow completely set up before you go to bed tonight. You've got to know what kind of activity is going to make your goal happen. If your goal is weight loss, you've got to have a plan. What is the plan going to be? Is it going to be Whole30? Is it going to be paleo? Is it going to be keto? Have you already read the book, The Prime by Dr. Colruyt Chartery, and you're working on a complete whole food, clean food eating process? Are you working with an Ayurvedic cleanse? You've got to know, and you got to get prepared. You will not wake up tomorrow and have a clean food day unless you don't know tonight what you're going to make. I know what food is downstairs for the rest of the week, because when opportunity presents itself, like I'm ready to eat, it's too late to get prepared. So you've got to do some semblance of getting prepared. So the night is young. I hope more of you are night owls than I am. It's only 7:30 in the Central Time Zone. I know it's 8:24, actually, 7:24. It's an hour later for those of you in Eastern, but it's earlier for those of you out west. So here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that you've cleared your calendar enough to take action on these steps. When you post your 64-day goal, hashtag 90-day planner, hashtag Breakthrough Academy, hashtag 64-day goal. 64-day goal. 64-day goal. And tag me, because I want to cheer you on. And I want to see the victories and the progress between now and then. Oh, I think it's going to be extraordinary. I really, really do. So I hope you got something out of today. I hope that your friends, if you're new to me, I'm Pamela Shaw, and I'm honored that you took a minute to watch, almost an hour, 50 minutes of your life to watch this. But I do pray that something on it has been beneficial. I do pray that these last 64 days are your best 64 days, and that you can come 12/31, check it off. I did this, and that you can look back at 2018 and they won't bleed together with all the other years. They won't just run together like nothing significant happened. That you're going to get a win come 12/31, and you're going to check it off, and you're going to know that today, tonight, it was a turning point towards that for you. Get it set up. Let's do 60-day to goal. Let's do this. Let's do hashtag 90-day planner, hashtag breakthrough academy, hashtag 60-day goal. That gives you 4 days to put in place what you need to put in place, and you're not feeling the crunch right away. I want you to feel like you can win. So hashtag 60-day goal. Yeah? Good? Hashtag 90-day planner, hashtag breakthrough academy, hashtag 60-DAYGOAL, and tag me. God bless you, Godspeed, and shine brightly.